Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Karkadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, of great millstone, preaching his word, truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word, truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching his word, truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a quick another sit-down lesson on this Wednesday night, December the 15th, 2021. And I'm about to bring this article for this quick sit-down lesson for tonight. And this is from the RT.com once again. And this is a highlight of this article. It says, armed men surround the Tripoli government HQ, which is the headquarters. It says heavy armed men have surrounded the offices of the Liberian government in Tripoli when a military threatens to cancel the upcoming presidential election. When the UN considers key to peace in divided African country. Photos and videos from the Tripoli in the early hours of Thursday show armed men in combat vehicles outside the offices of Libya's Internal Government of National Union, GNU, which is the Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dalabi, and there are reports of militaries outside the office of presidential counselor head Mohammed al-Manfif. As you see right here, military presence outside the presidential counselor's head of Mohammed al-Manfif right there shows it. Now I'm not going to play it because, it might be like a strike or copyright or whatever. But it has, photos right here showing several technical outside the office of the Prime Minister in Tripoli in Libya tonight after a presidential council dismissed the head of the Tripoli military district. And reading on the article, the move came after a debated by Demis Abdi Basit Marwan as the commander of the Tripoli military district, if I pronounced the words right. According to the Italian daily La Repubblica, two of the military leaders, Adim Gahim al-Kahili of the Grand Hiwa and Mustafa Ibrahim Godara of the Naswali, went to the Al-Mafrid Palace to protect the decision. And another military of the Al-Shabaab Brigade has announced that all state institutes in Tripoli has been closed and that there will be no presidential election. The Abria reported the leader of the Al-Shabaab, Saha Badi, has been sanctioned by the U.S. and the UN for opposing the UN-backed Government of National Accord, which is the GNA. It says the vote scheduled for December 24th has already been plunged by controversy. Dibia reportedly promised not to run for presidency in order to become prime minister and has not resigned. The posts in the run-up to the election are required by the rules. The General Khalil Haftar has commanded the rival Liberian no, it's Libyan, I meant to say, National Army in Tripoli has been accused of being a U.S. citizen and therefore ineligible with he denied the electoral commissions also tries to disqualify al Gaddafi's last month, but reversal the decision later. Saif father, Muammar Gaddafi, if I pronounce the name right, led the Libya for over 40 years before he was overthrown and murdered during a 2011 insurrection backed by the NATO powers that plunged by Libya into a civil war that has lasted ever since. The UN, even for Libya, Jane Kubis has warned in September that the fail to hold the elections will ignite the conflict, but has resigned without implication, staying in the post until a replacement can be appointed. So I guess this was dealing with the elections over there in Libya. And they had like armed men surrounding the government headquarters. And I guess you had the opposing groups, I believe, force the where heavy armed men have surrounded the office of the Libyan government while a military threatens to cancel the upcoming presidential election. So I guess some military groups threatening to shut down the presidential thing, I believe, and you have armed men that's loyal to the government, I believe. So the reason I kind of highlight the part where it says a military group threatens to cancel the upcoming presidential election. That goes back to the scripture where it says they should regard nor their kings nor their princes. But it's more other different stuff onto this article. But I'm just going to stick to the part of what I know, But it might not be fully of the understanding of this article because I had other different things in here, as I was reading it. But I'm going to bring out a scripture, of a part right here while I was reading through this article right here that caught my attention of about they should not regard their kings nor their princes, of those selectable countries. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Bring this scripture out. Right, and this goes into the book of 2nd Ezra. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16, through the Holy Scriptures, and it reads, "For there shall be sedition among men." As you seen, I was reading through the article of when I was reading through the paragraph, it shows right there, one military group said they was going to threaten to cancel the presidential election, over there in Libya. I believe they started like on December the 24th. Was it started? When I was continuing reading on through the article. And, that's when that sedition among men, like the military group said they was going to threaten to shut down the presidential election thing over there in Libya. And it says, "For there shall be a sedition among men, evading one another, and they should not regard their kings nor their princes," was those political figures that's going for, president over there in Libya. That's why you get all those government groups over there protecting the area over there in that region. When they have their presidential elections, I believe it's on the 24th. If I'm mistaken, I roughly paraphrase. So that goes back into the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. You know, they should evade one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes with those political figures. That's about to be the upcoming presidents of that respectable nation. And this is dealing with Libya, the presidential election over there. That's why you have heavy armed military groups of men over there that's loyal to the government, I believe. That's why, it was a military group, outside military group source saying, they oppose the presidential election. And, that goes into, they should not regard their kings nor their princes, which is those political figures of them upcoming of the presidential election over there in Libya. That's why, Libya had those armed military groups over there to protect that area, because you got an outside source of a military group threatening to shut down the election, the upcoming elections that's coming up on December 24th, between two different political groups that's going to be the next president of Libya. They should not regard their kings nor their princes, as I broke that down already. And the course of their actions should they stand in their power, right? Because you had these two different political figures going to be the next president in their country. Now you got an outside source that's opposing it and against it. Either primary presidential candidates of both, I believe, or suggest, I guess. So, that goes into the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16, that should not regard their kings nor their princes. As you starting to see that in these last days, you've been seeing more uproars of the people, more protests against the mandates and stuff like that, against the warders, so they won't force and mandate people to take the wardings, the testings and all that, because, they feel like they're fighting for their freedom, their freedom is on the line, they feel like they can't go outside due to these potential lockdowns, these new cases are starting to go up, more stuff like that, for an example. And then you got this political presidential thing that's coming up over there in Libya on the December 24th, like I mentioned before, as I was reading through the article, And they should regard nor their kings nor their princes, So, but other than that, I hope this was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And expect for more things like this to happen in these last days of there be continuing of sedition among men, and they should regard nor their kings nor their princes, political power leaders in their countries, that's going to oppose these political figures of these selectable countries, just like over here in Libya, as I brought out this article and read it. So you best believe you're going to see more of these in the last days as well too, I mean, it might not be a big thing, but it shows like examples of this. As I was reading through this paragraph right here, it says, when a military threatens to cancel the upcoming presidential election, which the UN considers a key piece in the dividing Africa country. So I believe it's a lot of division in Africa, like the north region of Africa, the eastern region and the south region. Mostly, I would say mostly in the eastern part of Africa and the southern part of Africa, you just see more, a dividing, a division of nations, especially in the political thing, in the political arena, as I, mostly call it, So that's why you got these military groups right here to protect the presidential election things, which is about to happen on December the 24th of 2021, which is coming up. So, you got an outside source, like I mentioned, threatening to cancel you know, the elections that's coming up over there in Libya. That's why you got these heavily armed groups to protect the region in that area over there, because you got an outside source who wants to threaten it and everything, to cancel it and everything. And that goes into the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. They shall not regard nor their kings or their princes, was these political presidential candidates in these selectable countries. But other than that, I hope this was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makar Kadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, great millstone, preaching his word, truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered in the four corners of the globe, preaching his word, truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching his word, truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom.